so welcome back. I'm E.G. and this is another week in the very yellow flat. Yeah, still doing it in front of the fireplace, but as you can see on my other side, that the flat is indeed very yellow. If I were to move the camera away from the fireplace, it would be, well, I'll put a picture up and we'll show you. So anyways, I have some news. I have purchased my airline ticket. Well, okay, I got my airline ticket. It wasn't actually purchased. It was moved from when I came and didn't go back because return tickets are cheaper to do than one-way tickets anyways. So I have my ticket for going back to the States. I will be heading back on the 12th of May. Hooray! That's 72 days from now? 72, 71, something like that. By the time you see it, that number will be wrong anyways. So, and then I will begin my writing career. Hooray! It's kind of a segue into this week's video, which is talking about why writing is actually a valid career option. So writing will not immediately make me oodles of cash. I am unlikely to be an overnight success, considering that overnight successes in the writing world tend to take about, 20 years. So I am going to be a writer. I'm going to be an independent author. I'm not going to be pursuing any traditional publishing, but that doesn't make my career choice any less of a career option. I just mean that I'm going to have to do something else as well as writing in order to make money. This week's video is talking about why writing is actually a valid career, why you can say, yes, I'm a writer, and still be able to say, yes, I have a real job. There are a lot of naysayers out there. So people are going to tell a lot of you writers and aspiring writers out there that, oh no, writing's not a valid career. You can't do writing for a career. You just sit around all day and don't do anything. Or you're on your computer just doing social media or videos or whatever. Or you just read all the time. Or you're just in your PJs. Or oh yeah, oh, my favorite, one of my more favorites is like, oh, I could write a novel if I had the time, or oh, writing's just, it's easy, it's not a real job. Yeah, well, my tail feathers. Okay, no. First things first. The writing is easy. People who think that you're adorable, and I find you quite amazing. So, yeah. Those people who think you can just sit down and plunk out a best-selling novel in about a month, first try, no previous experience, it takes a little bit more work than that. First, you have to actually come up with the idea, and oh, you might think that's really easy. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna write about flying cars. Well, let me tell you something. It's been done before. Everything you think that would be a great idea has been done before. The trick is to make it interesting, and it's not that easy. Want to do a historical murder mystery? Poirot, Sherlock Holmes, pretty much every other murder mystery out there that isn't set in modern times. It's all been done before. Okay, great. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. The trick is, how do you make it interesting? And once you have that, you have to figure out plot holes, and are your characters realistic, or are they just kind of flat, have no personality, they're just words on a page, which is besides the point. You have to make sure that the plot is believable, it's consistent, it's not boring, and that it makes sense throughout the whole thing. You can't just go, oh, flying cars, horse-drawn carriage. It doesn't work like that. Then you actually have to put the words to the paper. So for you people out there who think you could just write a novel, remember those essays in school? The ones where, oh yes, write 500 words on the rise of George Washington, or write 2,000 words. Yeah, try 80,000. Or 120,000, which is pretty much standard these days. A novel is officially considered a novel at around 50,000 words or so. Anything before that, and it's a novella, and after that you can have multiple, like huge epic type books. Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, a lot of the Russian writers, I don't know why they're the first to come to mind, but they write the very long books that'll take you ages to read. So within that, it's not just throwing words on the page. It's making sure that the grammar is functional, that the spelling makes sense, and if you're using different spelling conventions, like I use British spelling even though I'm technically American, you have to make sure that that's consistent throughout the novel, or you change it for your audience depending on what your audience is. You have to make sure that your sentences vary in length because otherwise it gets really, really boring. You have to make sure the dialogue makes sense, that the characters are saying what they should be saying, that you're not revealing something too soon or too late. Yeah, there are a lot of things that go into actually writing the novel. So a lot of writing isn't just sitting down at a computer or a typewriter or whatever and saying, yes, I'm going to plunk out a novel. It's experience and practice and reviews and critiques and many, 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 many rounds of editing. So it, like any other job, takes training, and you work up through your ranks, well, relatively speaking, and you get better and better with each go. The writing is easy thing? Yeah, well, we'll see what you think about that. All right, point 2. You just sit around all day. Yes, we do actually. Writing is a sedentary career. You can technically write while doing other things. You know, if you've got one of those futuristic-y style treadmill desks, or you want to go out walking and you dictate your notes. But most of the time you're going to be sitting on your tail and writing, like, you know, fingers to keyboards or paper or whatever. And what most people mean by this is that you're sitting around doing nothing all day. So yeah, yes, we do sit around a lot. But then again, so do many people in an office setting. There's a reason why there's a huge market for ergonomic office chairs, or those funky exercise balls that you sit on and are supposed to help your back. Or standing desks. You can use a standing desk. The trick is not to sit around too much, not too consistently. The average person can only sit for about 2 hours before your body starts to react negatively. And at that point, you should get up, you go out, you walk your dog, you play with your kids or your cat or whatever it is you want to do. You make some tea, you cook some lunch, and then you go back to work, just like you would in an office job. You take breaks. The trick is to live a balanced lifestyle. Just like with everything, you're going to have to exercise at some point. You have to make sure you eat your meals. You have to make sure you do get up and go out and do some sort of social activity, even though it's often introverts who don't care for social activities who want to be writers. I'm not saying that there are not extroverts too, but writing is generally a solitary activity. Anyways, yes, we do sit around. Yes, it's okay. Just, you know, our office happens to be at home most of the time. Okay, so the third point that you're going to hear a lot is, oh no, you just play on the computer all day. You're just doing social media or YouTube or watching videos or reading books. There are many distractions out there for people. The internet is full of very entertaining videos about people playing the harpsichord or, I don't know, training dragons. But you have to understand, in this day and age, if you want to be a business owner, which is basically what writers are, even if they're traditionally published, you have to have a social media presence. That means that you're going to be posting on Twitter, you're going to be talking with people on Instagram, you're going to be doing Facebook. These are not necessarily distractions, these are part of the business model. For me, I do YouTube, I do all of the social media. That doesn't mean I spend all of my time doing it. The trick is, again, to have a balance. You have to spend some time writing, and you have to spend some time doing the admin, marketing, etc. stuff. Most of the time, hopefully, is spent writing, but it does get distracting, and with everything you can burn out. Some days you're gonna get 5,000 words written. Some days you're not gonna get more than 500. The trick is to balance everything out, write to your schedule, make sure that you get something done, and it's okay. There's also research that writers have to do. You see your writer researching how to do forensics. Well, okay, that may be just pure interest because you think the television show got it wrong, but it could also be that they're trying to write their book or screenplay or whatever, and they need to know how these things work, so they do the research. Yeah, okay, and reading books, well, that can be for pleasure. I have to admit that is often very fun, so I'll give you that one. But it can also be for research, figuring out how people in your genre write, or what works and what doesn't, or they're writing resources books that people read. Getting distracted is a problem, but it is not always a distraction. And yes, most writers are on their computers all day because that's where they write. That's where the word processing programs are. And for those people who also are on the computers doing technology or office work, whatever, they get distracted too. It's, again, you have to be dedicated. You have to make sure that you're taking the time to do what you need to be doing and not just bumming around on the computer. So that brings me to the next point. But you're not making any money out of this. This is perhaps one of the more annoying points out there. Building your author platform, even if you're a traditionally published author, takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, you're going to get hundreds of rejection letters if you're trying to go the traditional route, or if you're doing self-publishing work like I am. You have to build your author platform so you can attract readers to your book. And even once you get that going, it may take 6 or 7 books in order for you to make a living wage. That is okay. You can do something else in the meantime. It just means that you have to be more dedicated with the time you have to do your writing. And the days of traditional publishers giving you a 6-figure advance, it's really, really, really rare. It doesn't tend to happen unless you're already a best-selling author. It's just kind of not realistic. So basically what you're doing is you're starting a business. You're being an entrepreneur. You're taking your time. You may be working at home, but you are writing out your novel, you're building your business platform, you're doing marketing, you're doing research, and then you are putting your own funds, sometimes if you're paying for editors or publishing materials or whatever it is, then you're putting your time and money into this product in order to sell it. So it's basically being an entrepreneur, and people don't tend to look down on entrepreneurs much, but they look down on writers, and I'm not quite sure why. For all those naysayers out there, and I do know some naysayers personally who are just convinced that, oh, well, you're not going to make any money, oh, you're not really doing a real job. False. Absolutely, completely false. Writing is as much a real job as anything else is these days. Okay, yes, so I may have to supplement my income. That doesn't mean I'm not doing a real job. Okay, so that's all I've got for you this week. This was a bit more of a rant than anything else, but I really felt like I needed to get out there and say it. So if you're considering writing, make sure you do the research and you know exactly what goes into it. And if you have a writer in your life, please, please, please don't say, oh, writing's not a real job, or ask them how much money they make, or, oh yeah, well, you just sit around on your computer all day, because that is extremely disheartening and very frustrating to us writers. So if you are a writer, just realize you're an entrepreneur and you're allowed to sit around all day wearing sweats with your cat or dog or whatever, goldfish. So I will see you guys next week back in the very yellow flat for another video on writing. Bye!